session to order at 6 p.m. And we will start with a flag salute. In recognition of free speech and the following board agenda item, we welcome all and would like to note that saying the Pledge of Allegiance is not a requirement to participate in the business of this public board. If you do not say the pledge for religious, political, social, or personal reasons, you are most welcome here as an equal participant in the business of this board. For those who would like to participate, please stand. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcement of action taken in closed session. There was no action taken. Moving on to adoption of agenda. Do I have a motion on this item?
I'll motion.
Okay.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. Okay. Advisory vote, Mr. Mason?
Aye.
Okay. Should we just do a roll call vote since we're actually all present?
Or we could do a general consent since we're all here for
Oh,
the
general
agenda.
consent. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's what I meant. Thank you for knowing what I meant. General consent?
Aye.
Okay. Agenda has been adopted. Organization reports. For CUTA, we have Ms. Heather Woods.
Oh.
Good evening. CUTA has all good things to talk about today. It is absolutely fabulous to go from a rep council meeting right before I come to this meeting every month because they come with so many things that we are doing. First, the elementary staff asked if I would thank the seniors who volunteered at all of their fall festivals. There's one more coming up and they said, please tell the seniors you guys did a great job. So if you guys could take that back to your class and say thank you for making center look good.
And they did. I was there to witness it.
No, I don't. So, thank you seniors who volunteered because community service is back. We are, obviously, we've seen month after month, but they are getting out there and doing things in the community. So, if anyone out there needs something that community service willing, they should ask the government teachers. In addition to fall festivals, Red Ribbon Week is next week at most sites. Homecoming was last week for Center. This week is very senior heavy. We have lots of senior nights. Actually, senior volleyball is about to start right now. And then even McClellan had a visual and performing arts thing coming up. So with that, what I would like to ask the board, recommend to the board, it's a recommendation, we would love it if not only do we get to know you from these meetings, but if you would also get to know us. We would love to see you at an event once a month. If you could come out, one of the things I told the CUTA members today was please make sure to include the board, to email Carol, to email Scott and say, here's our events coming up. We don't want to overwhelm you. So I'm not saying one at every site, but we would love to see you at our events. So please feel welcome at any time to come out and we will show you a good time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Woods.
Thank you very much. Okay. For CSEA, Ms. Naisha Harris.
And we have Miss Naisha Harris will not be with us, but I believe Miss Amy Rowensby is online. I don't know if.
Hi, this is Amy Runsby. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect, yes.
Man.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for having me. I am the Vice President of the CSCA Union, and Naisha asked me to speak up on our behalf tonight. So she sent me over just a brief blurb to announce to the board. She asked me to announce that we had an article that was ratified and passed by the members of the CSCA Union, and we would appreciate it if the board would approve the article that was ratified. And that is all.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along to reports presentations. Williams Uniform Complaint Quarterly reporting from Mr. Mike Jordan.
Don't blink.
Good evening. I'm pleased to report I have no report. Thank you.
Wonderful.
There are no complaints. Took me longer to walk up here than it did.
Well, thank you very
Good
much.
to hear. Thank you.
Okay, and we have a bond program update with Kushru.
And as he's walking up, we just want to welcome Kushru Gayer from CFW. They have been great partners with us as we look at state financing, and we're very glad to have him here. He might have rushed his way in from the Bay Area, so he might be a little tired there. But anyway, welcome. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you, Superintendent. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kush Gayer with CFW. Very pleased to be here this evening to present you some information and an opportunity for your consideration. I've had the privilege of serving your district for almost 30 years now, and my firm's been serving you for a little longer than that, so we really appreciate the relationship over the years, and it's nice to drive around your community and see everything that you've done for it. With that, I wanted to provide you just a little bit of background about your district's bond program as a recap, and then discuss an opportunity that you might have. Am I supposed to be clicking something, or? Oh, perfect. Okay. So, this is a way of background. The district has two general obligation bonds that were successfully passed in your district. One goes all the way back to 1991. And there's a small portion of those bonds that is still remaining to be sold, almost $6 million. More recently, in 2008, 62% of the voters in your district approved Measure N, authorizing $500 million of bonds that can be sold over time as and when your assessed valuation supports that. That bond program was done in anticipation of there being development and growth in your district, and to be able to provide housing for students over time as that housing was developed. Okay? To date, you've issued about $55 million of bonds, and there's about almost a little over $440 million that are remaining to be issued, that could be issued over time. And as I'll be describing a little bit later in the presentation today, you do have an opportunity to issue some additional bonds if you have the need and desire to do so. As a background of your district's overall bond program, one of the items is anytime a district issues bonds, it goes through a process where you get a credit rating assigned to you, just like we all have personal credit ratings. The district has a credit rating as well. Very pleased that the district's rated an A+ rating. It's a very strong rating. There are categories above an A+ district, but those are usually reserved for the very high wealth coastal communities. An A+ district is a very, very good rating. And it reflects what Standard & Poor's, the rating agency, sees as a very strong, diverse economy. You participate in the Sacramento economy, the greater Sacramento economy. But also the prudent financial management of your district over the years is reflected in that grade, and that's something that was noted. The table below shows all the bonds that are currently outstanding, and in total you have approximately $89 million of bond issuances outstanding at this time. The next page indicates your assessed valuation. And what the assessed valuation is, it's the value of all the property in your district, not the market value, but the assessed value per Prop 13, which typically is lower than the market value, but once again is reflective of the values of the property, and it's the basis for which taxes are levied. They're levied on an ad valorem basis, percentage against the assessed valuation. You'll see that we've been tracking your assessed valuation for a while over here. You had strong growth in the early to mid 2000s. You were not immune from the Great Recession. If you look at the chart on the right, you'll see there's a couple of years of negative growth where values went down in your district. Since the Great Recession, your assessed valuation has come back strong. You're now over $3.5 billion, which is a sizable amount for a district of your size. But what's most important is that number at the bottom right, that 21% assessed valuation growth. Your assessed valuation grew dramatically in the last year. A lot of that is attributable, some of it is attributable to improved housing prices, but a lot of it is attributable to the development that you're seeing in this area that's coming in. Obviously, this is a desirable community. Folks want to build homes here. Folks want to come and live here and buy homes here. And that's reflected. That's one of the highest growths we've seen of any district that we serve in the state. So that's a very positive number. And why that presents an opportunity, when we sold bonds, we assumed the assessed valuation is going to grow at 4% a year. It actually grew at 20, which is what the driving factor that would give you the capacity to issue additional bonds at this time, should you so choose to. So what the next slide looks at is if the district were to issue bonds, you have the ability to issue bonds either under the 1991 authorization or the 2008 authorization. What the district has done in the past is you've been trying to preserve the 1991 authorization bonds because they're more flexible. The older election allowed you more flexibility with what you can do with the money. The 2008 election was done under Prop 39, which allowed you to pass a bond at 55%, and has some more restrictions associated with it. So while the district has the ability to issue bonds under either authorization, we've looked currently at issuing bonds under the 2008 election authorization. So at this time, you could issue approximately $12 million of bonds. That number could be slightly higher or lower depending on where market rates go. The interest rate is estimated to be just under 5%. The term of the bonds would be 25 years, is what would be proposed. Your repayment ratio, which is the ratio of what you borrow compared to what you pay back, would be approximately 2 to 1. And what it means that for every dollar you borrow, over the life of the loan, you'll be paying back $2, which is a very low, prudent amount. The state of California has indicated that anytime you borrow, a school district borrows money, as long as you're paying back less than 4 to 1, that's an acceptable level. You cannot do a loan that has a repayment of greater than 4 to 1. But clearly you're half of what the acceptable level of the state would be, and a lower number is a good thing, it's a better thing. And the assessed valuation growth we would count on of 4% in the future, 8% next year, and then stepping down to 4% into the future. So you have the ability to issue bonds. There's no compulsion to issue bonds, but there's a couple of reasons why you may want to consider issuing bonds at this time. When you issue bonds, essentially you're paying interest to the investors who buy the bonds from you, give you the money up front. You may be aware that interest rates, if you look at the chart at the bottom right, interest rates have been heading up quite dramatically since we sold our last bonds and since we did the refunding many years ago, where I think we got the market at the lowest at that time. And it is, while we don't know for sure, there is an anticipation that interest rates may continue to increase or are likely to continue to increase. Most economists believe that the Fed intends to continue to raise interest rates, and we're going to see higher interest rates going in the future. A higher interest rate means for the fixed revenues you're getting from the taxes, you're going to get less money towards projects and more money is going to go towards interest. So there is some benefit to trying to lock in an interest rate. A lower interest rate benefits the taxpayers in the form of being able to provide more towards projects, and you're sending less checks of interest payments to the investors over time. So we wanted to bring this opportunity to you to see, if you had the need for any additional dollars at this time to either complete projects that are underway or to be able to continue some of the work that you've been doing in other schools, and B, if it was the board's opinion that interest rates were likely to continue to increase in the future, then you may want to take the opportunity to lock it in at this time. So with that, the options that are available to the district at this time are to be able to either take no action at this time. The authorization never expires, so at no point will you need to, there's no need to sell. It's not a use it or lose it. If you don't sell the bonds at this time, you could sell the bonds somewhere in the future. You come back a year, 2 years, 5 years later, whenever you want to. Authorization never expires. Or you could choose to issue bonds at this time based on the parameters we've talked about. Please understand that those are estimates as of today. The actual interest rate may be higher or lower at the time we sell bonds. It's usually about a 60-day process to sell bonds. And some of the other parameters may change, but these are the estimates based on where we think we are today. As the board has done in the past, if the district does elect the second option, which is to direct the financing team to proceed with the issuance of bonds, we would come back to you in the future with a resolution as an action item. I know today is not an action item, it's just an informational item. And at that point, the board would have the ability to weigh in and make a decision as to whether they wish to sell the bonds or not. Assuming you take that step, we'll go back to the rating agencies. There's going to be some challenges, but I fully anticipate we're going to be able to keep our A+ rating. The rating agencies are very concerned about the headwinds we may be facing if we go into a recessionary climate and how that might affect school district finances. but I think your district has weathered that storm before. And so just as we've done in the past, your staff will make a presentation to the rating analysts, present that information, and I fully well anticipate that we will maintain our A+ rating despite some of the concerns that might be coming down the pipe. We will then, once the district is done with the adoption and the rating, the next major step is to actually go into the market and sell the bonds. And selling the bonds is a negotiation between the district and the underwriter. The underwriter are the folks that buy the bonds from you. And it's a process that takes about 2 days. There's a call in the afternoon before you sell the bonds, and then you go into the market the next day. The underwriter attempts to sell the bonds to investors, and you lock in an interest rate on that basis. This is one of the last few businesses that works on the spoken word. So if we were to go out and sell $12 million worth of bonds based on Superintendent Lur's verbal award and based on the support from us and his staff, the bond transaction is then complete. Everything eventually gets documented in a written format. But most of the business works still on the spoken word, which is one of the things I enjoy about the business. And finally, if this transaction were to occur, be completed and priced, you would then be able to receive the monies. At this point, if we were to get direction from your staff to come back to you with documents at a future meeting, we would hope to be able to complete this transaction by the end of December, by the end of this calendar year. And why that might be of interest if the board decides that they want to proceed with this is there's about $20 billion of school districts and community college bonds in the November 2022 ballot. Those bonds are likely to come to market early next year, in early spring, January, February is when they'll probably come, March is when they'll come to market. And selling bonds is always about demand and supply. You want to go into the market when there's not a lot of supply. And so, if possible, we'd like to try and avoid getting into the January, February, March timeframe. And we'd like to go in later this year and get ahead of all the other bond sales that might be coming. So I know that, yes, ma'am.
Just a quick question. Once we sell the bonds and have the money in the bank, is there any time limits or penalties or anything that would keep that money in the bank?
Great question. You have to have a reasonable expectation that you would spend the monies within 3 years. If you do not spend the money within 3 years, thereafter, if the bond fund, if the county is earning more than what you're paying investors, you need to start remitting that difference. So that wouldn't be the case right now because the bonds are probably at 5%, and I think the county's maybe paying you 1%. But let's say the bonds were at 5%, and the county pool was paying you 6%. That 1% differential above and beyond what you were paying the bondholders would have to be remitted to the IRS every year. So there's not an absolute that it must be spent, but you should not issue bonds if you don't have a reasonable expectation that you will be able to spend a majority of those monies within 3 years.
And the verbiage on that was bricks and mortar for building schools. Does that include the pre-planning processes?
Yes, it'll include soft costs, it'll include the actual construction, modernization projects, so it doesn't have to be building new facilities necessarily. It could be to rehab existing facilities, and within some parameters, you could also use the money for technology.
Okay, and then back to the second page, it says, all of those items say refunding. What does the term refunding mean in that context?
When this board has always looked out for the best interest of the taxpayers, and whenever there has been an opportunity to refinance, we use the term refunding in our industry just to confuse everyone, but it's essentially a refinancing. So anytime you had issued bonds, and market rates go up and down, so anytime there's a dip in the market rates, we've provided the opportunity to this board, and in many cases, the board has agreed to take advantage. So, for example, if we sell these bonds at 5% now, hypothetically, and 3 years down the line, interest rates at 3%, we'll come back to you and say, just like you refinance a home loan to reduce your payments, we would do the same, and those savings get passed directly onto the taxpayer in the form
Okay,
of tax.
I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Couple of questions, if I could.
So, to continue on that discussion, one of the benefits of being able to reduce the interest rate and save the taxpayers' money is that gives us a little bit more allowance on what we can sell for future bond sales, is that correct?
That is true as well, yes, ma'am.
Right, because there's a cap, what is it, like $80 per 100,000
It's
assessed
$60,
value?
that's correct.
60 per
Yes.
assessed, okay, annually, right?
Yes.
So if a home was worth $300,000, they're gonna pay $180
That's exactly
a
right.
year. Okay.
And ma'am, just a correction, if the home is worth $300,000,
Mm-hmm.
they may actually be paying a lot less because it's not market value.
Right, right,
So,
it's
if the assessed- yeah, if they had bought the home
Prop
many years
13
ago,
assessed value, yes.
They could be paying $40 on a home with a market value of 300.
And just for those of us who are bond challenged, could you just go back to, on page 4, you were talking about the 2-to-1 ratio of what is paid back. So that is paid back not by us, the district, but it's paid back by the community, right? Through the taxes. Okay,
That is exactly right.
yeah, just want to make sure that everyone
Correct.
understands that. We're not borrowing money and we're going to put ourselves into debt. It's part of what the community has already authorized.
This is what the voters voted in for.
It, yeah, okay, and then, I think you already answered my next question when you were answering hers. The monies, when we receive them, do they have to go into a no-interest account?
Now,
Or
they could be invested in the county pool typically.
in the
They're-
county pool? Okay.
Yes, so just, I presume that's where your general fund monies are. So it would
Okay.
be along with other district funds. And we would monitor, in the old days when the county pools were earning 5 and 6%, we would monitor it every year to make sure we were not earning arbitrage, the difference between what we're paying on the bonds and what we're earning.
Okay,
But so we would earn some interest. I don't know what your county pool is paying you right now, but I'm
Right.
assuming it's somewhere around 1%.
Yeah.
So those monies sitting over there. would earn.
It is in the county pool. We can't draw down money and then invest it and make, 8%. It is at the county treasury rate. is my understanding.
but we could, but we
You would
get
get that, you would
interest
get
and we
that
could use
interest, but
it.
you couldn't invest it and try to make more money off that money.
No, but you could use it for other projects, or would it be general fund money?
The other piece to put in the board's mind is, remember with the current Rex Fortune Elementary that we're building, it is a phased approach, so we still have a phase 2, and that's what really sparked us on this, is trying to access some of these dollars so we can try to finish the school, and then get some reimbursement back from the state on these dollars, because there is the ratio for the state to give us the money back. So timing is one thing that we want to really look and pursue, because it would be nice to get that school finished and ready as we make our first, second, I guess you'd say, footprint into Roseville.
And when we get money back from the state for their matched dollars,
Cor-
that money then can be used for other facilities type projects.
If timing was right, which we'll never get this right unless someone has a crystal ball, it'd be nice, by the time you get that money back, you're actually going to start work on your next school.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think we are seeing the housing market change quite a bit. So it's that big crystal ball, but yes, we would get the money back and then put it in our accounts that we could then use as we move forward with the next facility.
But it's restricted, the
Correct.
same as the
But
original money.
I believe
Yeah.
we could even use it for any modernization, any sort of improvements on those projects.
And
We had the
potentially
timing right
ITSD.
last time. We had the timing right last time.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Thanks to Kuchar.
So at this point, all we're looking, unless there's an objection to staff pursuing, we're gonna push forward. Obviously, any vote, you will get an opportunity to vote. This is not saying, this is not a vote, but we wanted to at least put this as information. Unless there's objection, we would want to go ahead and pursue, and then we would come back with whatever the final plan would be. So again, I'm not looking for a vote at this point. Just the idea that staff would go ahead and start the process to see what we can do. We work with facilities on projects to see what we would utilize it. But that phase 2 would be a big win
What
for
is
us.
the total amount available to us?
12 million, I believe. And
Roughly $12 million
and
at
we-
this point.
we don't know if we would want, that's why we want to sit down and plan. I don't necessarily know if we would want to go for all 12 or if we want to look at 8, but that's what we would want to continue to pursue. But again, if the board's like, don't.
Interest rates are doing nothing but going up
Right.
at this point.
If we have a good plan. then
Yeah, I
makes
would see
sense.
no reason why we wouldn't pursue this ASAP, and I would like to have a resolution by next month, but
particularly if you want to get it done
Well,
before.
Yes, if we-
let us pursue it, and then with that guidance, and we'll look at November, and then, but I
If it's
do want to
doable.
have more communication, and then Lisa's behind me too. Obviously, we're looping that into to make sure that we know what we're doing with it. We're not just going to do it just because we can. And I know that's not what you're saying, but I want to make sure that
No, we need to get Rex Fortune up and running,
Yep.
so
Okay.
that would
Well,
be.
and just noting that Kushner had indicated he was hoping we would be able to do the sale prior to the end of this fiscal year, or
Right.
this calendar year. So that means a vote in November, a sale in December, or a sale in late November, so, yeah. There's
Agreed.
not a lot of time.
I agree.
Sorry to put the pressure on, but plenty of things to spend
no
money on.
pressure. I'd rather act quickly and make it happen than think about it and
Yeah.
be in a different spot. So that's great.
And I want to vote on it.
I'm sorry?
I want to be able to vote on it.
No, not yet.
No pushing it
Mentally,
to
you can
December.
mentally. All right. Thank you.
Thank you
Mr.
very much,
Kuchar,
Lisa.
thank you for all your time and help. You've always been a godsend to us in regards to the finances and selling of bonds, so thank you very much.
Yes. Agreed.
Okay, public comments will be up in a little bit. It's not time for public comments just yet. Okay, committee updates. Curriculum instruction and special education update with Mr. Mike Jordan again.
I guess we like him.
All right, good evening. Since last report, a couple of things have happened. One, during our last data culture meeting, all the site administrators, academic coordinators, and so forth came together, and they went through their analysis of our most recent iReady score reports. So they talked about the GLOWs, the GROWs, and their action plans moving forward, with a special emphasis on our English language learner population. So the next step is they're taking that back to their school sites, and they're getting those action plans up and going and working at the school site. So they did a great job in their presentations. I want to thank Becky Lawson for leading that for us, and we're moving along with the iReady assessment data. Second thing, the CTIG grant was successfully submitted.
The what grant?
We qualified for $260,000 this past year. That's what we received. We qualify for about $359,000 for this coming year, so that'll be fantastic. And in the meantime, during this last month, we've met with the MCA program, and we're putting together the new information communications technology pathway, which is going to be fantastic and is going to be housed in these buildings right behind us, which are coming up incredibly fast all of a sudden. They're doing a great job over there. And then
I'm sorry,
finally,
Mike, what was the name of that grant again? Could you tell us?
the
CTE?
Career Technical Education
okay.
Grant. It's
Thank
called
you.
the incentive grant.
Yeah, thank you.
And then finally, this is just an appreciation on a recent trip to Leatherby's. Your fellow board member, Mr. Mason right here, went out of his way to make sure my brother and I had an excellent trip.
Oh,
So a high five to him. I ordered like Cookie Monster Crunch or some ridiculous thing, and he didn't even make fun of me. So yet. There you go.
I do have a question.
Okay.
When do you think we'll get the information from the panoramic survey?
Well, we have data information in. We can share that with you.
That would be,
Yeah, it just closed, I think, Friday. I think we just saw an email today, so we can.
Awesome.
That's the
Like,
parent, yeah.
Good timing.
Literally this morning.
awesome. We're on the same pathway. Could we, like, December?
You want me to share it with you electronically, or come back and share it, or what would you like?
Both?
Okay,
Both, all of the above?
sure.
Letter C.
Yeah, may as well, if you have it available.
We'll do that.
I mean, that's good information to share with the public, right?
Thank you.
And Mr. Jordan, is it on the radar to share the iReady results with us as a board?
I can certainly do that as well. Do you want me to do it electronically, in
Well,
person, both?
Yeah, much
Letter C
appreciated.
again, all right.
Yeah, I definitely favor it being in person partially so that it gets out to the public as well.
Okay,
But
we can do that next month.
that'd be wonderful. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay. Next, we have facilities update with Mr. Richard Putnam.
I have one question for you, Richard. Can you spend $12 million?
Yes.
Done.
Good evening, everybody. been a busy time. It's been 2 months since my last report because I wasn't here for the last one. Rex Fortune is moving along quite well. We've actually done the first layer of asphalt for all of our paving areas. It's a critical step because that will help keep us moving forward depending on what kind of winter we do have this year. If we have a wet winter, we will not be slowed down because of that, because we will have asphalt, and we are starting the flat work, which is all the concrete work, going around the inner part of the campus as well. So we are moving that along to where it doesn't matter what weather is going to do, we'll still go on and we'll still have the school ready to go for the next school year. As Mr. Jordan gave a little insight, the new CT buildings are popping up out of the ground and moving along. We are anticipating those to be dried in by December the 15th is what the contractor is shooting for. So that's exciting that that will keep moving on, and we will have that ready for next school year. Also, we have gotten the first phase of our fencing project done over at North Country. So the fence down Brown Otter the field is completely fenced in now, all the way up to the school site. The only way you can come on campus would be having to come into the front of the campus now, but that will be a phase 2. And we redid the roof on rooms 210, 211, and 212 over the fall break. So we've taken care of some roof issues there for Center High School. And then we are working with CFW to help with updating everything for modernization at North Country. There's potential that we will be getting back into the mix with the state of California for money originally planned out. There's still some loose ends to tidy up, but we're moving forward with that so we can continue improving our sites. And then also we are doing some landscape renovations at sites. North Country was the first. We are going with a lot more drip, going to bring in mulch and then also native plants so we can start to kind of drought proof our school sites. So even if we have continued dry spells, the schools will still look fresh and vibrant and bright. And then that way we're also not using as much water, but we're able to keep what plants going for us. And that is what we have for this month. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay, moving on to comments from the audience regarding items not on the agenda. We have Howard Bong.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
So I could stay under was it 2 or 3 minutes? 2 or 3 minutes?
3.
Three.
Can I address the items and then you can respond to them accordingly? Or
Pull the
one
mic
at a
down.
time?
Pull the mic down towards you.
We are very
Sorry.
limited in what we can respond because we can't really get into much back and forth because it's not agendized topics. So,
Okay. So
but you can address us and be heard.
okay. So one was well, first of all, on the bond oversight, this report from CDF. There, bullet number 3 on page 5 says it provides documents to LA County Board of Supervisors. So this is kind of, don't know if you noticed that or not. I didn't hear anybody address that. So I don't.
It is a typo. It's Sacramento County Board of Supervisors.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. The second item I wanted to bring up real quick was the police services presentation that I brought up at a previous board meeting, whereas in the first, when we first had the police services contract enacted, they used to give a monthly report, and I think that represents very well for the community to see and hear that, as well as any parents or students. anybody in the community that's watching via online. So you brought up that you would be having a discussion around that, or I haven't heard anything back, so.
I don't remember us saying that we would have a discussion on that. I do remember you bringing that up. I know you had mentioned also that in the past that the officer came on and spoke, which I don't remember that. You might remember that, if the officers came and spoke at board meetings.
Yeah, he did.
But I don't recall us.
I know you did
That
this.
was back in the days of Nate and
Yeah, I know we're not supposed to have a lot of back and forth, but I believe the direction at that point was to go back to the superintendent for discussion with the leadership team. Is that not correct?
Well, after that was brought up, Mr. Barassi shared a safety and security update, went through all of that. Now, we don't contract with Sac County anymore. I might have been during Sac County's reports that they came through. We can certainly, if the board wants, have that officer.
Twin Rivers, I believe, it was a,
Yeah,
the one that I attended was at Wilson Wild.
okay. And I know, I don't remember, but we can certainly facilitate it. That's not an issue if that's the board's desire. We did do, though, in August, I think it was August, we did have the report from staff on all the different security measures that we did. Was that August? But at the time, we can have our officer come or ask some of the heads come from the department.
So let's discuss that during advanced planning.
Okay, and then one other thing I had, and I know Mr. Poonam was speaking about Center High. I don't recall. It's hard for me to hear. But I notice all the other schools are fairly well hardened in terms of security of the campuses. One thing I notice is here at Center High, I see people walking their dogs, kids riding skateboards, etc. And it's open during the evening. I realize that there's the barricades for the vehicles, but was there any plans to harden up the campus in its entirety to preempt anybody entering?
Are you talking about the annex?
I'm talking about anywhere on the ground. Center Lane is open to the public. You just block off the
Like
street.
street?
we
It's
can't,
all you have to do is just put a wall, a fence, or something between one of the buildings somewhere along this section to the county wall, and you would facilitate the ability to preempt people from entering into the school grounds on foot.
but we
Point of
can't
order,
block it
Mr.
off
President.
completely. It is
Is the timer on for
taxpayer.
this speaker? It seems to be beyond 3 minutes.
I can't see the timer
So
from my
it's
seat.
just
so.
it's just a suggestion as far as catastrophic events go. That's one of the things that I know schools and school districts are supposed to look at very seriously is the hardening of the facilities, and it's pretty open here. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay, thank you
very much.
So let's
Mr. Mason, you had
add
a
that.
comment really quick?
As a student at Center High, during the daytime,
Can you speak into the microphone?
Oh,
make
yeah.
sure?
during the daytime, all the gates are closed, so no one can get on campus, and you need a pass to get off campus. And there's no re-entering once you leave. So I feel pretty safe, and I think the majority of students feel pretty safe about people coming onto campus. So I don't know if you're talking about just Center Court Lane or the campus itself, but on campus during school hours, it's really, really difficult to get onto campus.
Steve, may I make a comment?
Okay,
Thanks for
we
pointing
can't
that
get
out.
too far in the weeds.
No,
though,
I
so-
won't,
Okay.
but I just wanted to say that it's a very careful balance between public use of the facilities and locking them up, because they are bought and paid for with tax dollars, and we have a lot of groups
Can we-
that need to use those fields or need to use the facilities for children
Yeah,
and
can
keeping
we
children busy.
agendize this discussion using our advanced planning? Apologies.
So yeah, if we're gonna discuss this
Yeah.
further, we really should. do that during
Agendize it.
advance
Yep,
planning.
that's all I wanted to
Sorry.
say.
Okay.
Sorry.
Any other public comments on items not on the agenda? No? Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion on this?
On the consent agenda,
Yeah.
I'll move that we approve it.
Second?
Okay. Advisory vote, Mr. Mason?
Aye.
Okay, and general consent vote?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, approved. Okay, moving on to business item A. Naming of proposed elementary school to be built on property west of Wilson Riles Middle School. Do I have a motion on this agenda item?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
What's the motion
Thank
specifically?
you. The motion is to bring it to the floor for discussion.
Okay, and trustee Anderson, you seconded?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you want to just give a
Yeah.
general overview?
Yeah, last August, I brought this topic up to the board as a discussion item. And at that time, I gave an overview of the history of the property in relevance to the district. Today, I am proposing to name the new school west of Riles, Gould Ranch Elementary, in honor of the 100 years of service to the board in maintaining the history of the region and the district.
Okay, so before we go on to the discussion, are there any public comments on this item? Okay, so moving into the discussion, I'd like to start by saying in the previous discussion, I made my opinion known that I tend to favor not naming things after people because if things come out later that changes the view of them, it can be problematic. As an example, Bill Cosby was viewed very highly for a rather long period of time, and nowadays he's viewed less highly. At the same time, a member of the public, my wife, asked me to express an opinion she had for a name. She suggested that we might want to consider naming it Trish Bruno Elementary School. I stand by my opinion that it's better not to name things after people, but I did promise her that I would bring that forward.
What was the name?
Trish Bruno Elementary School. I promised I'd bring it forward, and now I have.
You did your
Okay.
diligence.
Recognition, yeah. So, I understand what you're saying about, you know, things can take an ugly turn in the future, and at that point, we could choose to rename the school.
And I also do want to make clear one other point, though. I also fully acknowledge the difficulty in coming up with a school name that's not named after a person and how difficult it can be to come up with a good name. And I have been working very hard on this, and I don't have anything that I like to bring forward.
Well, it's
So-
not actually, sorry.
I would just, the Gould family, who owned the property for hundreds of years apparently, they housed the bell, the center school bell, and it was used as an alarm that we were being attacked or would be attacked on their property. Spent how many years as school board members?
Over 100.
100 years, you know, between
Combined.
different members of the family. They contributed greatly to the school district, and I understand your point about maybe something might come up in the future about that person, but come on, we're talking 100 years of history, you know, and if
Yeah.
something was gonna come up, I think it would've come up by now. I think we should honor people who have done that much for the district. If you're gonna start doing that, you're gonna cut out all of your people who may be benefactors for the district, who have estates they might want to give away. I mean, I think we need to look at the positives of it as well and start thinking about honoring the people who have contributed to our history. And there's a lot of them.
That's a very interesting point of view that I hadn't considered, so thank
Yeah.
you.
But to reiterate, it's not necessarily naming it after a person or a family. It's in retrospect to honoring the history of our region, which in turn goes with the district. Our very first board clerk, again, not by a name that I'm speaking of, but J.G. Gould in 1958 is one of the first clerks of the board, the very first clerk of the board. And the school that is going to be built was purchased by the Gould family.
The land.
My question is, who did the Gould family acquire the land from?
I don't know.
Prior to what?
Who did the
Who did the Gould
family?
family acquire the land from, and why are we not honoring those individuals as
Yeah,
well?
I don't know that far. Their history went up to 1958. I could not find anything
question.
prior to that.
It's a good
I
question,
can do
though.
some research and see if I can
Probably
find
it.
out.
a tribe. Probably an indigenous
Probably
people.
native peoples.
Mhm.
I don't know, I couldn't answer that question.
But as was mentioned, it's not just the land, it is also their contributions to the
To the
district.
The district and the
So
history of,
I
many-
have to say that I thought that was an interesting point of view.
Great
and
question.
it's caused me to think some things.
I'll find out who owned the land prior. I
it's
can do
up
some
for, it's
research.
for an action item, so.
Yeah, let's put it on for an action,
This
tonight's
is-
an action
it's an
item,
action
okay.
item.
That doesn't necessarily mean we have to do an action item tonight. I mean, it would be nice to resolve it, but at the same time, if there's board interest in finding out the answer to Dr. Lee's question, we could table it to the next meeting.
I'd like to call for a vote and then maybe pursue it again later if it doesn't go through.
Okay, is that a formal call for a vote?
So that would be a motion to approve? Is that what you're?
Yeah, let's vote on it and then we can go from there. If we need to revisit it or need to provide more information.
Okay, so to clarify, you're moving that we call for a vote to name the elementary school Gould Ranch Elementary School, correct?
Steve's talking to you, okay.
Okay, and do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Mason, do you have an advisory vote?
Aye.
Okay, let's do roll call vote. Trustee Poe?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
Trustee Lee?
No.
Trustee Kelly?
Aye.
And
Sorry.
the chair will vote aye. Approved.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to business item B. First reading, policies, regulations, and exhibits. Do I have a motion on this item?
A motion to bring it to the floor for approval?
Okay. Do I
So
have,
for approval or for the approval of the first reading?
Approval of the first reading
Great. As a batch?
as a batch.
Wonderful.
okay, and do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and we have a second. Mr. Lair, would you like to give us a brief overview here?
Sure. This is, we get quarterly batches from CSBA that provides us with policy language. Staff has reviewed it. Most of these, as you saw in your packet, are new laws, and language is just minorly adjusted in ones that aren't new laws. And so just to stay in compliance with a lot of the rules that are out there, we would recommend that you approve the first reading for these.
Okay. Are there any public comments on this? No? Okay, any discussion?
I have a comment on Board Policy 6173. This policy consistently uses the term homeless children. I find that to be a very derogative and pejorative way of referring to children that are experiencing homelessness. And I encourage us to use people first language in our policy and to change every instance of homeless children to children experiencing homelessness or people without housing.
I would echo that opinion. Thank you.
I did not notice that, but now that you pointed out, I can't unsee it. I think this is essentially antiquated terminology, and I think you raise a very good point there. Okay, any other discussion?
So do we make a motion to update that language for the first reading?
Yes.
So let's amend the motion, friendly amendment to the motion to approve it with the language updated.
I will
as
motion to
discussed.
approve as amended.
Okay, and do I have a second on that?
Second.
Nope, sorry.
Okay, and are
So,
we ready?
I'm sorry, point of order. I'm not sure that a motion is required on that because it is the first reading. We're providing feedback, and so I don't
I think
believe.
we have to motion it to bring it back for the second reading.
I think what we're
We just
doing
bring
is
it back
it's a
the second
batch that you're
time.
making corrections to, so either way is appropriate, but I think if you formalize it by saying, we want to change the
doesn't
language,
hurt, so
it's
shut
not
up,
going to hurt
Kelly.
anything, so what we can
Okay.
do is make those adjustments. Then when we bring them back next time, the
Okay.
edits, the
Correction.
corrections would be included in that batch that you finally approve.
And
So
I do
either
wanna-
way is appropriate.
I do also want to make clear, the reason that we're doing it as a first reading, second reading is because, as you can see if you look through even just the agenda, there are a lot of these, and we want to make sure that the public has time to review them and provide feedback if you so desire. Okay, so we don't actually need to approve anything at this time?
No, you would approve it, but
Okay.
as far as this, we're taking edits, and so we have those edits, so we can make those. You would approve the first reading with those edits.
Okay. Any other discussion on this?
Did we ask for public comment?
Yes, we did.
Okay, sorry.
All right,
Must have been
shall we
sleeping.
do the vote? Advisory vote, Mr. Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Pope?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
Trustee Lee?
Aye.
Trustee Kelly?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Okay. Moving along. Student board representative reports. Mr. Mason?
So I'm gonna brag a little bit to all the seniors here. Homecoming week was last week. I'm glad it's over, having been here late. But in terms of competition between classes, area decorations, the juniors won and the seniors got second place. The spirit stick at the rally, the juniors also won. But in the class skit, the seniors won, and then at halftime of the homecoming game, there was fireworks set off. I don't know if you guys saw them.
Oh, yeah.
I was working a snack bar, so I thought it was something other than fireworks. But when I looked over, I was very pleased. Volleyball senior recognition night is going on right now, as Miss Wood said, and then tomorrow. We have a football game against Marysville, which is also senior recognition night, not just for football, but for also cheer. It's also our pink out game. JV starts at 5:15 and varsity at 7:15. We also had a financial aid night last night, and then we have one tomorrow night at 6, because new wording with the law says every senior who graduates has to apply to financial aid or get a waiver. On October 27th through the 29th, we have our fall drama production, The Plot Like Gravy Thickens. And I'm in a drama class, and I heard it's very, very good.
I'm sorry, when was that?
The 27th through the 29th of this month, October. And then senior portrait deadline for the yearbook is the 16th of November, so we're looking on to next month now. And then the Powder Puff game is going to be November 17th at 6 p.m., which is a Thursday. And then that's it.
All right, thank you very much.
Nice job.
Let's start on this end. Trustee Kelly?
Okay, can I ask a question as part of my board report?
It's unconventional, but.
Unconventional. I'm very interested in what Riley was talking about as far as every senior having to apply for financial aid, and so I was hoping that maybe someone could expand on that.
Yeah, so current requirement is all students in the state apply for FAFSA. So I have a student going through it right now. You have to put in the information, then it shows you what you're eligible for. So it was, I
And
believe
do
it
we
was a
know
new
what
requirement
the
this year.
impetus for that was? Was that just to make sure that we're not missing people who are eligible?
I don't know, Mr. Jordan, do you know the reason why?
Yeah. Just, you gotta do it. Everybody does it.
Schools will help to make sure, and we've been doing that for years, but now it's fun.
But now it's law,
So we're
okay.
doing it during the day.
Thank you.
There's so many federal funds that are not being used by students. There's a lot of grants, a lot of scholarships that are not being used, and they're trying to make sure all this money available to students going to college have that.
Yeah. Great, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, so homecoming, we went to homecoming as a group. course, we did not discuss any board items because we didn't want to break any Brown Act laws, but had a great time. I really loved the non-gender royal court, so kudos for that. That's probably been around for a while, but I just wasn't aware of it, and I just loved it. Sorry about the 1-point loss. That was painful. That was painful, sorry. And then this past weekend, I participated in the kickoff meeting for the equity design team, which is the district's team that is building on equity, and it was a great group of people, a great group of professionals that are really enthusiastic and anxious and nervous and happy to be there and participate. But so there's just a lot of emotion and a lot of things going on with that. I'm really looking forward to continuing on that even after I'm off the board. And so that's kind of the direction of what I don't personally do at my office, but our office focuses a lot on equity and reducing disparities in public health. And so reducing disparities in public education is definitely a passion of mine, and I'm excited to continue that. And thank you for the invitation to attend more items, more events. And I think that we as a board have talked about that and are planning on doing so. So we'll see you there. That's it.
Okay. Trustee Lee?
Yes. So hi, everyone. As our community continues to navigate this pandemic, I continue to focus on well-being and seeking signs in the environment about cultural inclusion. This month, the month of October, contains 2 heritage months that are widely recognized throughout California: Filipino American Heritage Month and LGBT History Month. Thank you, Superintendent Lair, for the district communication about Filipino American History Month that is posted on our district school websites. I want to express appreciations to North Country Elementary for highlighting its multicultural library, their cultural bulletin boards, and activities. And I also note that the video production club at North Country is up to some pretty amazing things. Some of the most awesome interviews, movie trailers and all. Check it out, it's on their website, really good stuff. However, I'm requesting more information about the ways that Dudley Elementary, Oak Hill Elementary, Spinelli, Riles, Center High School, and McClellan High School are addressing cultural inclusion. My constituents have actually requested this information from the board multiple times, and on their behalf, I'm again asking that we focus on cultural inclusion. As an example, it appears from communications that some of our elementary schools, the most that students are learning about culture is recognizing Easter as a holiday, but they don't seem to be also learning about any of the other wide variety of faith-based cultural traditions that exist in our community. In our middle and high school communications, the only mention of culture I could find was a single multicultural night that's held for a couple of hours every year in March at one of our high schools. I just have to say that cultural inclusion matters in our communication and practices. And if I've missed or overlooked something, please let me know. And I appreciate any and all updates on cultural inclusion activities at those sites that I mentioned. And I'll be looking forward to some multicultural event invitations from you. I'm thankful that our district is committed to doing more to make the transformative strides that we need to make to transcend a monocultural approach to education. Educational practices in school districts are directly related to educational policies. And when an educational policy has malicious intent or is guided by the principles of exclusion, elected officials have a moral and ethical obligation to stand in opposition to it. And this is why I continue to stand in opposition to our board policy 9220, update to include annual verification of residency status for board members, which we adopted in November 2021. This policy did not follow our own policy and adoption procedures, and it was purportedly created in response to a single public commenter's belief that the people pushing all of this equity stuff don't even live here. I asked my board majority colleagues to point to what section of the elections or education code gave us authority to make such a bylaw. In fact, in my research over these past few months, I've discovered that Education Code 35107A states, any person, regardless of sex, who is 18 years of age or older, a citizen of the state, a resident of the school district, a registered voter, and who is not disqualified by the Constitution or laws of the state from holding a civil office, is eligible to be elected or appointed a member of a governing board or school district without further qualifications. Without further qualifications. Earlier this year, in February, I called on the board majority to rescind Board Policy 9220, update to include annual verification of residency, stating all of the reasons above, and they declined. And in May of this year, our board developed and adopted a censure policy, not in response to the racist and homophobic comments that some of our colleagues had made during open sessions, but because, as some of our board majority members stated during discussions, we needed to have something in place to punish the people who do not comply with the new residency verification policy and to give it some teeth. From start to finish, the intent and impact of Board Policy 9220 annual residency verification remains wrong-headed and focused on malicious exclusion. I'd like to report to my colleagues that I've continued to research Board Policy 9220, update to include annual verification of residency status. And I have been in contact with Sacramento and Placer County elections officials and California Department of Education regulations officials, none of whom have yet informed me that there are any requirements in the election or education codes for duly elected and sworn school board members in the state of California to submit to annual residency verifications with any local education agencies. The consistent bottom line in the responses I have encountered and received is that this board does not have the authority or jurisdiction to invent bylaws or requirements for service that are not rooted in the state of California election codes or education codes. So consequently, I encourage the board majority, superintendent, members of the public, and district council, should any of you ever truly have a genuine and sincere concern about any board member's residency, to seek court judgment and to use the known and established legal avenues to challenge the eligibility of a candidate to serve. In the meantime, I continue to reject what I perceive as an immoral and illegal establishment of Board Policy 9220, update to include annual residency verification, and I absolutely will not comply with it. I respectfully request that the written communication of these concerns that I will provide to our board secretary be included in our November regular board meeting agenda packet, along with an agendized item for the board majority to once again consider rescinding Board Policy 9220, update to include annual verification of residency status. Our board has bigger fish to fry than trying to police one another in ways that we should not be. Student achievement and cultural inclusion being two of the major issues that fall under our purview and that remain areas in desperate need of improvement. To my board majority colleagues, let's focus more on our students and what we are legally positioned to do, setting a vision to increase student achievement and cultural inclusion at all of our schools. Please, multiple community members and constituents have come to us and asked us to act on cultural inclusion. So please, let's focus more on that and less on trying to police each other. Let's trailblaze not on new bylaws and requirements on our board members that are unheard of in the state of California, but instead on student achievement and cultural inclusion, which more than one member of the public has actually requested that we do. Finally, once again, I'm inviting all to drop into my open office hours on Zoom on first Mondays of the month from 4 to 5. The link is on our board website. Drop in any time between 4 and 5 on November 6th, just before Election Day. Please get out and vote. And in the meantime, be safe and be well.
Okay. Trustee Anderson?
Okay. I would like to report that I attended the Fall Festival at Oak Hill, and it was wonderful. Our seniors were there and did a great job. Movie night at Oak Hill, I was asked to help out because our seniors all went to homecoming and they weren't there to help, which was understandable, but it was very well attended as well. and the kids had a wonderful time. And it's so nice to see Oak Hill or any of the school sites having things that are family-oriented and just pure fun for the kids, because we don't have enough of that doesn't cost an arm and a leg to go to. You know, you take a family to the movies and it's probably $70 by now. I mean, it's just ridiculous, the expense. So I really enjoy watching that happen, and the kids all being able to just run around and play while they're watching the movie. And, you know, it's just fun, good, clean fun for them. In response to some of the comments that were just made, I just want to say that it is something that other school districts do. People have been removed from office for not living in the district, and I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to argue about this.
Take legal action.
No.
Yeah, that's the
I'm just
appropriate
leaving it
response.
at that. I'm not
But if
taking
we're
20
responding to one
minutes.
another and you're
Please,
permitting
let's
that,
let's give her a
let's
chance to
permit it
speak.
for all,
Other districts have done it, and it's,
not in California.
Please don't
yes.
interrupt.
I'm going to just leave it at that and thank all of you seniors for coming. I know it's something that's now required that you have to do, but it's something that I think you can learn from. And even though we do have these little tit-for-tat things that break out once in a while, it's a good board, it's a good school district, and maybe someday you'll take an interest in politics and you'll want to do something for your community that way. So, thank you.
Trustee Poe?
Thank you. Just a point of clarification. There is no board majority. We have a majority of the board by vote. So that means 4 people vote for an item, that's board majority, or a majority of the board. We don't have a board majority. Per CSBA.org, what is the eligibility to serve on a school board? School boards are nonpartisan. Candidates for boards are not required to belong to a political party. In California, you may be elected or appointed to a governing board of a school district if you are 18 years of older, a citizen of the United States, a resident of the school district, and a registered voter. Other than that, I did want to say that I attended the decoration night, decoration morning of Center High School, and congratulations to the juniors. Everybody's decorations were amazing. Congratulations to the seniors who did win on their skit presentation between the varsity and junior varsity game. And I'm not going to mention the game outcome, but they all did great. They did great. Mr. Ferguson and the Center High School administration did an amazing job getting the halftime show together. I read on social media that the principal needs a raise. So everybody thought it was a great show. So I appreciate that. It was quite the surprise. Other than that, have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. I was able to attend a dinner for various boards in the Sacramento area at Sacramento County Office of Education recently, and listened to former Sacramento Police Chief Daniel Hahn speak about equity. And can I just say that man can really put together a moving speech. Mm-hmm. He included personal history, regional history, the history of the United States, and how all these things intersect, and it really drove home how recent some of these things are, and it was just incredibly powerful and moving, and I'm still reeling from that. Also, as was mentioned, a few of us attended the homecoming game. It was a good time, incredibly well-played game. The halftime show was a fun surprise. I was mildly disappointed that it wasn't a live cougar, but this was probably the smarter bet.
That was his guess.
Generally speaking, the reaction has been very positive. There were some community members that would have liked a heads up because of pets and things. So that might be something to consider moving forward. But generally speaking, the reaction at the stadium was very positive. The reaction I've seen online has been positive, and my personal reaction was rather positive. It was a fun time. The one downside to homecoming is those bleachers have not gotten any more comfortable over the years. Yeah, no matter what sport you're going to watch, the seating is not the most comfortable. But it was good company and a good time. Other than that, I really don't have much at this time, so I will hand it off to Superintendent Laird.
May I make a clarification on my board report, please?
Sure.
I referenced csba.org. CSBA, that's California School Board Association, is what that stood for.
Can I just add one more thing as well? This is regarding the CSBA dinner that we went to, and Chief Hahn. I just wanted to note that what really impacted me about that was how one body, such as ours, or a city council, can have such a great effect on a community, virtually throttling its economic prosperity, and just keeping in mind that, you know, you're making decisions that seem like good ideas, but they could end up being extremely damaging to certain communities, and that really hit home. Oak Park, and some of the other communities that were thriving and no longer are. So definitely could have been intentional, and that makes me very sad.
Okay. Superintendent Laird?
Thank you, Trustee Bruno. So I just wanted to, on behalf of all the employees, appreciate the board's approval of the salary compensation packages that you all approved. So thank you for that approval. Everyone appreciates it who works for the district. Additionally, homecoming I thought was great. I was disappointed I could not make the hallways this year at a prior commitment. I think it was the first time I missed it in many years. Did attend the game though, and we'll leave it at that. But I thought the event was very nice. A lot of folks came out, and it was a great feeling. So I appreciate the work that went into that Center High School. Additionally, which has come up already, but we did have our first kickoff. Our equity design team met last week. I think it's a good start, and we're continuing. I think we're trying to get our next session for November, so we're moving forward. Our trainers are incredible. Really two fantastic individuals. I got to spend 2 days actually with them. I took them around the district the first day and just shared with them the neighborhoods, everything just kind of took, so that was very positive. And then concluded that night with Chief Hahn's, or ex-Chief Hahn's police presentation at the SCOE dinner, which I thought was very intriguing and enlightening. So I actually signed up for his, SCOE's doing another training where he gives his full extended version of that. So I'm going to listen in on that as well as a webinar. And then additionally, Ms. Kelly and I will be finishing with our last CSBA equity session this Saturday. So that was the 4th session in that. And what we found with this is it's a good way to network with other individuals. I think I might have misunderstood a little. I was hoping to be more prescribing and telling us, but it's really building a collective network, and that's been very positive. I think we've met a lot of different folks from all over the state and hearing about the work that they're doing. So that was nice. And then also just to follow up, I know today's staff, students, parents, and I think yesterday the board spoke with our marketing and PR individual, and I appreciate the time you all gave. She didn't tell me much, but said that she got great feedback, and she said she was going to go home to try and sort through it all to come up with some good strategies. So I just want to thank all those that were able to participate, and I know schedules are busy for everyone, so to carve out the time to do that, I really appreciate that. And she was very thrilled to talk with everyone, including, I think she got all 5 board members. So thank you for your time doing that. And other than that, I think that's all I had written. Thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on to advanced planning. Future meeting date, we have a meeting November 16th, right here at 6 p.m.
That's my anniversary.
Sorry.
I'll survive.
Would anyone like to suggest any topics for that meeting?
I'd like to agendize a reconsideration of rescinding Board Policy 9220 update to include residency verification.
Regarding
I'm
that.
sorry. Can we back up? Did Riley provide his report?
Yes,
Yes.
he went first.
Oh, my God. I'm so sorry. Sorry, I did listen. I know I did. Sorry.
So regarding rescinding that board policy, I feel there was some misinformation given tonight. Regarding that, it was not brought about because of any opinions expressed by anyone. I was the one that brought it forward, and it was because people were questioning whether or not we all lived in the district. It had nothing to do with opinions being expressed, but strictly about residency. What gives us the authority to do that?
Point of order,
Excuse me,
Mr.
please
President.
don't
No,
interrupt.
actually, you're discussing the item, and I just requested it for it to be agendized so that we can discuss it.
Well, if you'll bear with me, I'll get to my point. But I'm trying to correct misinformation that was given at this meeting about why it was brought up.
But it wasn't misinformation. So if you're going to state that I gave it misinformation, then I get to counter that it was not. I have the recordings of the meeting.
Okay?
No, he's the president, he's running the meeting, let him do it.
You said that it was brought forth for a purpose. I'm the one that brought it forth. I can tell you specifically what my purpose was. I don't know why you would believe that you knew my purpose better than I did.
I never stated that.
So
I
I'm
stated that only
correcting-
a single public comment was given that,
It wasn't in
and you
regards-
stated that's.
It wasn't in regards to a public comment, it was in regards to a comment that was made to me, not a public comment at the meeting. But an opinion expressed to me.
Well, all I can go by was what was stated
Let's
in
not
open
have a
session.
conversation, please.
So-
Mr. Bruno, continue.
And you also said that one of the requirements to be eligible for the office is to live within the district. We are not taking any steps to screen people out and say, you can't serve on this board. What we are doing is saying, yes, I qualify to serve on this board, and we are reassuring the public. We are simply, what gives us the authority is that we are able to hold ourselves to a standard. Regarding the censure policy, you're the one that brought up that we didn't have one, so then I moved that we create one and not in relation to the other board policy, but just in case something comes up where someone needs to be censured, it's good to have rules in place. So, my point being that there was no interest of the board to rescind it previously. It was not brought about illegally. I don't think that we need to add this to a future agenda. I don't.
And I again ask that we reconsider, that is what I'm asking to be agendized, the reconsideration based on the information that I received from the Sacramento and Sacramento and Placer County elections officials, as well as California Board of Education regulations officials. They have stated to me that there is no requirement for annual residency verification, and that if anyone has a genuine concern about that, they should pursue court judgment. That is the option. That is what has been stated to me by those officials who know the election code and who know the education code better than we do. So my suggestion again is that we agendize reconsideration of this based on the information that I presented from these officials who know the law.
Okay, would any other
There's
board
no-
members like this to be added to a future
I mean,
agenda?
there's no harm in putting it on the
Okay,
agenda.
we have a second, so let's go ahead and add it to the agenda.
I'm trying to avoid us having expensive legal costs as a district because I will not comply with that. It's immoral and it's illegal and it's unethical.
No,
I
it's
don't
not.
understand how verified.
It
Okay,
is.
so it will be added
That
to
you
the
meet
agenda,
a
we will discuss it
requirement,
at that time.
it's unethical.
Okay. Any other items that someone would like to add to the agenda?
Yes, we want to make the note that the panorama data and iReady data needs to be added. And then there was another one, I don't recall what
Yes,
it is.
the topic of
That
safe
Howard brought
schools, safe school officers to
Yes.
present at the meeting upcoming.
So for my clarification, just so I'm aware, so we had the consideration of the policy, I have that for next month. Panorama, I was gonna put on for December, and then I was gonna do the iReady in November, does that, or do you want them all on the November?
Whatever might.
Can we do iReady and Panorama on December? Because I think November is going to be full.
Is that, anyone object to that?
I'd really like to hear about the diagnostic test information sooner than the end of the year.
So we can do November.
Okay, any other topics to add to future agendas?
Sorry, I think I was thinking, so the fourth item that was brought up was safety. Did one?
Safe school officer.
Safe school officer. Did you want me to pursue having one of the officers or come speak? Is that, just for my clarity, I need to,
Let's at least figure out if they're available too.
okay.
And,
But I can shoot for November to have at least someone, a representative. I'm assuming Richard and I can connect with one of the officers to be there, either our own officer or sometimes the chief or the sergeant might come, who's over our area. So I'll pursue that. I mean, I'm not seeing any nods or.
I guess what my thought
I'm not
was,
seeing anything there.
I guess my thought was we should bring it to the board for discussion on what we want the school officer to look into and what we want he or she to present to us as opposed to just coming willy-nilly.
So I can bring that in November and then you can give me
Feedback
staff
on,
direction.
It
on
also
when.
gives the community an opportunity to comment on.
That's true,
the
that's
safety.
true. And then we can give a specific date of when we want the officer to present.
okay. Any other
There's-
topics?
There's a policy in here
We're
that,
on advanced planning.
I know, but it's something I wanna go over with privately and rather than bring it up in public.
Okay, so address that privately then. All right, so if we're done with advanced planning, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second. We're not anxious.
Okay.
Are you guys
Advisory
anxious
vote?
to leave?
Aye.
We could
And,
stay a while.
General consent?
Yep.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.